Hello, welcome back. It's ChristineJewell. Today we are tackling a big subject. We're going to be talking about the fear of rejection. How do we slay this giant of rejection, the giant that is keeping us isolated, self-sabotaging in our relationships? So listen, if you know that you unconsciously have a fear of being shut down, being rejected, whether it's in your most intimate relationships, maybe it's at work, in speaking up and putting yourself out there. Maybe it's actually you are leading a team of people and you find yourself right now avoiding some really difficult conversations that you know you need to be having, some issues you need to be tackling. And you notice that I'm avoiding, which is one of the key symptoms of a spirit of rejection, shutting down and avoidance. We're going to talk more about this, but today we're going to dive into this topic. And this is really something that has been coming up over and over and over again. I work with so many people who are reaching out because they have felt the knife of rejection, betrayal lately. Something happened to them. Maybe your spouse or your partner decided they wanted to leave. One person wants out. Maybe it's a key person inside of your business that said, you know what, I'm leaving. Maybe it's a close friendship. It really doesn't matter because we are relational creatures at the end. And it could be like a knife to the heart when this happens. And it could create some operating systems in us where we actually begin to shut down. We actually avoid connecting at a deeper level. And we're doing this in a sense of self-protection. So I want to talk about, today we're going to talk about what is the spirit of rejection, right? How does it show up? Consciously and unconsciously. Consciously meaning I'm aware of it. Unconsciously means I have no idea. I didn't even realize this was a thing. And we're going to talk about what to do about it. So I may have to break this down into 2 episodes, but I'm going to go ahead and just jump in. And my hope with this is that maybe this will turn into a series and we'll be talking about rejection. We'll be talking about abandonment. We'll be talking about lots of other things that are coming up that I think are really the underlying roots that are driving so much of our dysfunctional behavior in our lives, our marriages, in our businesses. So let's jump in. What is the spirit of rejection? Well, first of all, we know what fear of rejection is, right? We know that fear of rejection is I'm trying to initiate physical touch, a hug, a kiss with my spouse, and he keeps shutting me down, turns cold, right? I'm putting myself out there. I don't feel wanted. I don't feel seen. So that could be a sense of it. It could be that we're putting ourselves out there for that promotion or sharing a bigger vision with our teams or whatever. And then we realize they're not buying the vision. They are not on board. In fact, they think that our ideas are crazy. They don't want to follow. So rejection can take on a lot of forms, but it's this fear that many of us experience of really being all in, being honest about who we are, what we desire, what we think, what we want, and being able to be fully seen. So we show up like parts of ourselves or we give parts of ourselves. So that's how it shows up. But rejection is not something that happens to us. Listen to this. You are rejected. Rejection isn't something that happens to you. It is something that happens inside of you when you have an experience. So something happens, maybe your spouse doesn't respond, or they say, not tonight, honey, or I'm not feeling it, or they turn their head. Maybe they're busy. Maybe they're distracted. It doesn't really matter because the experience you felt internally was rejection, right? That's the feeling that you felt. But the feeling comes from a storyline that starts to happen, and the speed of thoughts is really fast. The speed of thoughts is really fast. And often we are feeling the flood of emotion that we call rejection or anger. And we have no idea consciously of the cascade of thoughts and programs that we just processed in that split of a second. In fact, I was talking to my son the other day, and he's going through a hard time right now with his relationship, and he's wanting to take it to the next level, and he's questioning a lot of things. And he's like, Mom, it's crazy how fast your mind races. Like my mind just goes from A to Z. It's like, how did I get here? The speed of thought is really fast. And a lot of the memories and the thoughts we have are in your subconscious or your nervous system. So they're just like, boom, they're shooting messages up to your brain super fast. And you're not even aware of what's going on. So rejection isn't something that's happening to us. It's something that we defined inside of us. And I believe that it is a spirit that takes root when we internalize our pain and we turn it into identity. Okay. So the feeling of being unwanted, rejected is something that happens in us. And that deep pain is like all these stories that they don't like you. You don't belong. You're not wanted. She thinks this of you. They think that of you. They don't respect you. They won't trust you. They're going to leave you. It's a cascade of lying. Lies and thoughts that come and begin to shape and form our identity. Hey, it's Christine. I'm interrupting our program for a minute to ask you a question. Could you use a breakthrough right now? What is the one area of your life that you know that if you had a breakthrough in this one area, if you broke through this wall of resistance, this challenge that you're facing, this mountain, that it would change the game for you in every other area of your life? Listen, if I'm talking to you right now, I want to let you know about a 30-day breakthrough coaching experience that I'm offering up for a limited time. It's where I'm going to work with 3 people very intimately, one-on-one. There's going to be daily touch points, daily action steps, and the opportunity to talk to me directly a couple times a week. And we're going to get to work on that one area of your life that is the domino that's going to knock down every other thing, that is just going to open the door. So here's who it's for. It's for those of you who are ready to roll up your sleeves, get to work. You want to execute at a high level. You want that person in your corner for support to call you out on the blind spots. It's also for those of you who don't want to deal with surface level fixes anymore. You want to get to the root of the problem. We're going to pluck the root out and we are going to clear the path. It might be mental operating systems. It might be spiritual stuff going on. It might be as simple as getting into full decision and getting clear action steps. So if I'm talking to you right now and you are ready for a breakthrough, click on the link below. There's going to be a short application for you to fill out. Once our team receives that, if we think it's a fit, we're going to send you the offer with all the details, the pricing, the investment, and the clear next step. You guys, if the program is full, we'll drop you into the wait list. Again, if it's a fit, we'll let you know when a spot opens up. So if you are ready for a breakthrough in this season of life, click on the link, fill out the application. I'll see you on the other side. Now, the reason why I say it's a spirit that takes root is we know the word of God says Satan is the father of lies. We know that. And so sometimes we don't even realize that our thoughts, what we perceive as our thoughts, are actually not our thoughts at all. They are thoughts and information and noise that is coming at us either from the outside. Okay, so noise can come at us from the outside. Thoughts can actually come from the atmosphere around us. And thoughts can also come up as memories that are unconscious coming from our body, because our body remembers past experiences and it's sending signals to our brain of, oh my gosh, something happened in your past. It's about to happen again. This is exactly what happened before. And boom, before you know it, you're in this cycle. So it's important to recognize that what we often sense as a feeling of rejection is actually an emotion. Okay, this is important, based on a bunch of information, thoughts, data that we are being flooded with in this moment. And when we give that information a lot of our attention, a lot of our focus, a lot of our energy, and we start partnering with it over time, we start agreeing with it. Do you see that? They rejected me. They don't want me. She doesn't like me. And we start giving it our thoughts, our words, our energy, start talking about it. Over time, it takes shape. It becomes a thing. And what it does is it begins to distort your identity. It starts to convince you you are unworthy, you are unlovable, you are unwanted. It starts to become a filter for the way that you see things. It's like a distorted lens, right? A dirty lens. I actually have my glasses on right now, and my lenses are dirty. It is messing up my vision. So somebody can be doing something that is very neutral, in fact, even kind and good. And because we have this distorted lens and filter of how we're looking at things, we're looking for threats. We have unconsciously victimized ourselves. And so what we're looking for is a perpetrator, especially when there's a situation that feels very familiar to something we experienced in the past. We're going to talk about where it originates from. But I want you to know that like how it operates is it distorts identity. It becomes a filter, causing you to see every interaction through fear of being excluded, fear of not being wanted, fear of not being enough, fear of being left behind, fear of being shut down. And so we have to understand that this rejection, the spirit of rejection, partners with shame, guilt, and fear. It's like a little trifecta there. And when we do that, it's like it gets you starting to feel ashamed of who you are, embarrassed about who you are. Well, there must be something wrong with me. That is a classic thing. That spirit of fear, or that sound that comes in your brain, which is a lie. It's not a truth. There's something wrong with you. There's something broken about you. There's something that's not good enough. That is the father of lies. And that is the voice of shame and condemnation that wants to make you feel ashamed of who you are, but also guilty. You are guilty. You're not good enough. You must have done something wrong. Not only are you not good enough, but you must be constantly doing something wrong. You're not doing it right. She's not responding the way you want. You're not going to do that right. You're probably going to fail. And so it starts condemning you. So we need to understand the essence behind the thoughts that we're entertaining. I'm going to say that again. We need to understand the essence behind the thoughts that we are entertaining. Now, depending on what lens you're looking at this, so you could look at this through a lens of psychology and logic, and science has a lot of research to back this up, right? Neuroscience has a lot of research, human behavior, the world of psychology. I'm looking at this through a spiritual lens today because I know that every single thing that we are experiencing in the physical has a spiritual origin, a spiritual root that then manifests through thoughts, words, emotions, and actions. So I'm the kind of person, I like to go to the root because again, if I'm trying to change the thought, listen, you guys, if I'm trying to change my thought without understanding what is driving that thought, what essence, what energy, what spirit is behind that, then it's going to be a lot of like battling with my willpower, battling with my mind. The battleground is the mind, right? But we need to understand what is operating behind the scenes. So there is truth and there is lies. There is life and there is death. So we are a multi-part being. We have a body, which is this physical body we're in. By the way, I did a whole 3-part series on this. We have a mental body, our soul, which is our thoughts, our emotions, our personality, and we have a spirit body. And so at any time, right, parts of us, some of us are engaging, right, with spirit, with soul, with body. So I don't know if that was a little bit of a offshoot. I got to bring it back in. But it is important to understand, is this my body remembering an experience from my past where I felt ashamed, where I felt afraid, and now my nervous system is remembering an experience and it's being flooded with the same chemical cocktails because this looks really familiar to what it looked like when this happened in the past. Right? It could be that. It could be that all of a sudden there's all this noise and you're just feeling yourself bombarded with thoughts and ideas and belief systems. We have to start going, where did those come from? Whose beliefs are those? That's more at the soul level. And sometimes it's like you could feel like it's a spiritual battle. And so I bring that up because I think so many of the times we're trying to address things just on one level when we need to start to look at holistically. Okay. I'm going to go back for a second and backpedal. And I thought about restarting this podcast, but I'm going to keep pushing. So number one, I talked about it operates by distorting identity. Okay. Convincing you you're unworthy, convincing you you're unlovable and unwanted. Satan is always whispering lies in your ears. Distortion of identity is a classic enemy tactic to rob you of the life, the blessings, the future, the hope, the promises, the identity that God has for you. Because if you're not operating in your God-given identity, you can't fulfill what God has destined for you. Okay. You can't partner with him if you don't think you're worthy, unlovable, and unwanted. Number two, we talked about it becomes a filter, like dirty glasses. It starts to distort my view of what's going on. And number three, we said it partners with shame, guilt, and fear. We talked about shame. I'm not good enough, right? Must be something broken or wrong with me. Guilt. I must be doing something wrong. No matter what I do, I probably am going to mess it up, right? You constantly are condemning and whipping yourself and beating yourself up. Listen, again, spirit of shame and guilt, they love to do this. Like they whip you whip yourself constantly. And then what starts happening is there is a manifestation of, you start seeing that everyone around you is criticizing you. Everyone around you is condemning you. It seems like everyone is saying you're not good enough. You're not doing enough. And it becomes like a self-fulfilling loop because you're in bed with the spirit, with these emotions, and you keep giving them energy. You keep feeding your life force to it. Okay. And fear, of course, is the antithesis of love. It is the antithesis of faith. We can move by faith or we can move by fear. And what fear does is it starts to put other things on pedestals as idols. When we have a fear of what other people will think of us, now all of a sudden they become our mini God. If they love us, then I must be good. If they accept me, then I must be worthy. And so the fear of man is a real thing. We've become afraid of people. Listen, what we fear becomes our God, becomes what we worship. That's why a healthy fear of God is necessary when I say that, because I fear not being in his presence. I fear missing out on what he has for me. I fear not stepping into my God-given identity, right? So fear can be a healthy fear, it can be an unhealthy fear. So when we have this distortion that happens, we now have a partnership of shame, guilt, and destructive fear that creates a cycle of withdrawal. Okay. That means we start to self-isolate. We start to withdraw ourselves from speaking up. We start to pull back, shut down, hide. Hiding is a huge one. People pleasing is a huge one. Self-sabotaging, saying, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to do that. I'm going to start taking better care of myself. I'm going to start communicating better. I'm going to start speaking up. And instead we find ways to sabotage ourselves, to validate the story that is running in our head, the loop. Okay. Again, it's noise, it's data, it's information. They are not your thoughts. They are not your identity. Where does this come from? We already talked about it comes from past trauma. We have to look back at our lives. The body keeps a score. Your body keeps a record of everything that you have experienced in this lifetime. In fact, not just you in this lifetime, but generations before you. You are carrying DNA and codes from your parents, your great grandparents, your great great grandparents. So there are things and programs that may be operating in your nervous system, in your psyche, in your blood that are from this lifetime. It may be things that happen in your parents' lifetime that you are aware or unaware of. So we need to be able to start to ask questions and be willing to go back and go, where did this come from? Where did this feeling and this idea of being unworthy, unlovable, where did it originate from? And this is where I really believe, like, we got to partner with the Holy Spirit first and foremost, because he has been around in all time. So he will direct you, right? He will show you things, and he has shown me things in my lifetime, brought up memories that I didn't even know, things that had happened that I had completely compartmentalized, shut off, went offline around, so that because it was a survival mechanism. He's also shown me in prayer and through journaling and meditation, things that happened while I was in the womb and before I was born, and things that happened in my mother's lifetime that I then was able to ask my mom about and say, hey, did something like this happen? And because I am a person who is committed to healing generational wounds, and so is she, we have these conversations. So we're able to bring things up and actually heal them, talk about them in a safe manner, and rewrite those stories. So it comes from past traumas. It comes from family systems and generational agreements of spirits of rejection or abandonment that have run through generations. Listen, generational blessings and generational curses are a real thing. Now, if you are a believer and you're listening to this podcast, that means that you believe that Jesus Christ is Lord, that he had died on the cross and you are saved. That means you are righteous, you are redeemed, you are restored, you are healed. And so the freedom is free, right? You are already healed. You are already whole in the spirit. I'm going to say that again. You are already free. You're already whole. You're already healed in the spirit. However, we need to learn how to walk out our healing. We need to learn how to walk out our freedom in this physical body, right? In our soul and in our body. Because there are still maybe some operating systems that are familiar. What do I mean by that? How your family talks to each other, how your parents spoke to each other. If you grew up in a home where rejection was common or the language of rejection was common, then that's still an operating system. So we need to be able to address it, cut it off, and no longer engage with it. That means that will no longer be my language. That will no longer be how I speak to my spouse, how I speak to my children. That will no longer be thoughts that I entertain. I am cutting and canceling. It's like ripping up a contract with that spirit that's been running in our generation, where this idea of being rejected, not good enough, abandoned has been running our family line. So where it comes from, family systems, past traumas, internalized lies. Feelings are normal. Feelings are God-given. They're GPSs to help us show where we're on course and off course. But we have to be careful, because if we stay and we start feeding the emotion feelings are backed by thoughts. And so when we start giving those emotions a lot of our energy and we start agreeing with the thoughts that come up, we start creating bonds or agreements, legal contracts with these lies. And so now we're like, I'm partnering with the lie instead of I'm partnering with the truth of what God has to say about me, not what this person has to say about me or this circumstance. Okay. Remember, there's a reality that's happening in the spirit. They may be a physical reality presenting itself right now. So one of the things people often ask me is, what am I supposed to do? Am I not supposed to recognize what's actually happening? Like, the truth is that person is rejecting me. They don't want to get back together. They did fire me or let me go, or they did betray us, whatever the situation is. And so this is important for us to be able to recognize that even though this is what is presenting in the physical, there is a truth above what is presenting in the physical. So even though in the physical, she doesn't want to get back together right now, even though in the physical, that person betrayed our team right now, stole our clients, right? Did that thing. This is the truth about who we are. Okay. This is the truth about what we will believe. This is the truth about what we will stand for. And so we start to stand on truth. We start to stand in identity. Go back to the podcast I released last week where I talked about it is time to stand on something, solid identity, solid truths, solid belief systems, instead of standing on lies and partnering with lies and agreements. Okay. 2 Timothy 1:7, one of everybody's favorite verses. It is something to stand on, for God has not given me a spirit of fear, of rejection, of abandonment, but a spirit of power and of love and of a sound mind. God has not given you a spirit of fear, not a fear of rejection, not a fear of man, not a fear of loss, but of power and of love and of sound mind. But here's the thing, he gave it to you, but you have to receive it. And a lot of us are still praying for something that God gave us. We're like, God, please, will you give me the courage, give me love, give me connection. I already gave you. You need to start exercising it. You need to start exercising the power over your tongue that I gave you, because my word says that power of death or life are in the tongue. You keep agreeing with your mouth over the lies. You keep agreeing with what is presenting when you are looking through the lens of fear instead of agreeing with the promises that I spoke over your life. So with the power of your tongue, you are literally wielding power of destruction over your life. So this is important, because a lot of us don't realize we're praying, God, don't let any weapon formed against me prosper. And we don't realize that we are the weapon right now with our mouth open, talking over our marriage, over our relationships, over ourselves, all the grumbling, all the complaining. Oh, why is this happening? I must not be good enough. Nobody, right? And nobody loves me. right? Nobody respects me. Nobody trusts me. And we are in this cycle. We're feeding the machine that is building the monster. Okay. And this is the reality. God did not give you that spirit of fear. He gave you power. He gave you authority over your thoughts, over the landscape and the territory of your mind. Do you know that you have the power to be aware of the thoughts that you're thinking? Think about that for a minute. I have the ability to watch what I'm thinking in my head when I'm aware of it, right? There's a lot of unconscious thought that's happened. But if I'm willing to slow down, pump the brakes and go, wait a second, what is this thought that I'm thinking right now? Where is this feeling coming from? And I start asking questions. You have the ability to have authority over that thought. It doesn't have to control you. You don't have to be a puppet to it unless you want to. See, the thing is, we are often praying for power that's already given to us, but we have abdicated. We have given our authority away. We have given our power away. We have given the connection that we crave so deeply with ourselves, with others away. Now we're like, I feel unloved, but we are not exercising, learning how to love ourselves, how to connect with ourselves, how to be connected. We're expecting someone else to want us first so that they can teach us what connection feels like. And that's the inversion and the distortion. Okay, let's talk about how it shows up. So how does the spirit of rejection show up? We've been talking about it a lot, consciously and unconsciously. So first of all, when we're aware of it, we might actually be like, I am afraid I'm going to be left out. I'm afraid of speaking up. You might be in a loop of constantly overthinking. Okay. I gave the example of my son, right? He's going through some things with his girlfriend and he has been thinking and thinking a lot. And when he had the awareness to say, man, the mind is a crazy place. Like your mind starts building out all of these worst case scenarios and what's going to happen. So you might be aware that you're starting to catastrophize. Be careful that you don't go down that rabbit hole. It might show up as people pleasing, manipulating yourself and bending yourself, compromising your values to get validation, compromising your values to get affection. This is classic of why people go and start looking at porn or start having emotional affairs or start gambling or whatever their antidote for relief is, because they're just looking for a place to feel good, to feel validated, to feel like a man, to feel like a woman. And it's like we will compromise our values to get that feeling if we're not careful. Right? So people pleasing, a lack of boundaries, saying yes when we want to say no, and which only leaves us feeling violated and disrespected even more and feeds the whole machine again. It also shows up as chronic self-doubt and chronic self-criticism. You stop trusting your ability to lead. You start questioning your ability to actually make good decisions, to actually follow through on what you're going to say. Like I said, you start beating yourself up. You may or may not be conscious of the fact that you are pushing people away before they get too close. It's interesting because when we're afraid of rejection, the thing we want more than anything is to be wanted, to be close to someone. And yet what do we do unconsciously? We start pushing people away, right? We start doing things that actually create division and friction and a lack of trust inside of the relationship. So we start isolating, we start distancing ourselves, we stop sharing truly what's on our heart, we start talking in circles. Maybe you are overperforming to earn acceptance, right? You think if I just do all the right things. So you may be aware of this, you may be unaware that you're constantly like performing and dancing. And that's why I use that analogy of I'm constantly on a puppet jumping. If I do this, then will they be happy? If I do this, then will they respond? If I do this. And so it's this like reactive puppetry that we're in, this performance, trying to earn the love, trying to earn the connection, trying to earn some sense of feeling that we're worthy. Okay. And so we know the cost, right? What is the cost? You guys, today's episode was really about having a lot of awareness of it showing up. But I want to say, like in your most intimate relationships, this is the thing that blocks connection. This is the thing that wants to destroy your ability for intimacy, because intimacy is powerful. It is created by God to be for God, and it is like a superpower in your life. When you have that unshakable bond with someone, you have that oneness of spirit, one body, one mind, one heart. There's almost nothing that will stop you. Really, it becomes like rocket fuel. Listen, the enemy wants to divide and conquer. Okay. That is a classic strategy. Divide and conquer, block their ability to connect, distort the lines of communication. Let them start to misread each other. Let them start to feel rejected and bitter towards each other. We've got to understand the lay of the land, right? The landscape. So what is it costing you in your marriage, your relationship, to be allowing this spirit of rejection, this fear of rejection to stay in your atmosphere, to rule in your atmosphere? You know, the word of God says, choose this day whom you will serve. Every day we have an opportunity to serve fear or to serve faith, to serve fear or to serve love, to serve lies or to serve truth, to serve the memories of our past or to write new memories over our past, to address the giants that are in our bloodline, in our family, in our lineage, or to continue to avoid them and run from them. And you know what? If we don't deal with them, we're just going to pass them on to our kids. So at work, what is the cost of allowing a spirit of rejection to take root? Blocks leadership. It blocks your boldness. It blocks your ability to influence and lead with confidence, to trust yourself, to execute. So it literally hinders you stepping into what God has called you to lead well, right? You lose trust. You lose respect. You lose influence. You lose authority. You start to lose buy-in. And then you're like, nobody trusts me. Nobody respects me, because you are leading with a spirit of rejection, whether you're conscious of it or not. So listen, I hope that this episode today really starts to open your eyes to the fact that, man, I didn't even realize. I thought I was just afraid of being rejected. And I just was listening to this thinking like, how do I get her to not reject me? Or how do I get my team to not reject me? How do I get people to trust me more? The main thing is to have awareness. I'm going to do a part 2 to this. And I'm going to talk about what do we do with this. I'm going to touch on them today. Next week, I'll go into it further. But awareness is step number 1. Because you can't change what you're not aware of. You can't address what you're not aware of. You can't slay a giant if you don't know the giant is there, right? You're going to keep running off and getting distracted. So this is about you seeing with your eyes wide open what is actually going on in your operating systems, in your atmosphere, inside of you and around you, so that you can open your eyes and start dealing with the root of the issue so that you can experience a different reality. The cost of staying under the spirit is dear. We already talked about it at work. We talked about it in our marriage. And with your walk with God, it blocks your ability to hear his voice. When we are allowing the spirit of fear to rule us, it literally shuts our ear off. We cannot hear God's voice clearly. And the amount of people that I've spoken to that are like, I am just asking God and I'm asking God and I'm getting nothing. But everything about their language and their thoughts is fear-based rules. So what I mean is like they're going to God and they're begging, but like, I'm afraid of the answer you're going to tell me, so I don't really want to hear it. Okay, so I'm showing up and I'm not being honest. I'm not being real with God. I'm not being vulnerable with God. I'm telling him what I think he wants to hear, like that people pleasing thing, which is blocking my ability to actually hear the heart of God, just like it would if you are in a relationship with anyone else. If you're coming and you're just complaining and you're just talking and saying what you think the other person wants to hear, they know that is not an authentic heart posture. And so it just disrupts the lines of communication. It blocks intimacy. It blocks hearing. And it blocks our ability for closeness, to where we can experience the presence of God, that we are seen, we are heard, we are worthy, we are chosen, we are called, we are equipped, we are wanted. That experience when we come into the presence of God is what actually starts to heal everything inside of us. So there's a verse in Proverbs 29:25 that says, the fear of man brings a snare, but whoever trusts in and puts his confidence in the Lord will be exalted, meaning lifted up, and be safe, will experience safety. The fear of man, the fear of rejection, is a snare. It's a trap. But whoever trusts and put confidence in the Lord will be exalted and will experience safety. Guys, I'm going to land it there. To next week, we're going to talk about what do we do with the spirit of rejection? I'm going to talk about the 3 steps to freedom. We're going to be talking about how to actually start to dismantle this and the areas of healing that we need to go to work on. There's 3 areas of healing that I think are really critical. So I was hoping to get to all of it today. It ain't going to happen, but let this be the thing for today. Step 1 is awareness. I said it already. You can't fix what you don't know is broken. You can't heal what you don't know is wounded. You can't work on changing the fruit if you don't understand what's going on at the roots. So I hope that today served as an invitation for you to consider some of those behaviors that might be presenting in your life, some of the thoughts you might be thinking, the emotions you might be feeling, and start to ask yourself a better question. Instead of saying, why is this happening to me over and over again? Am I feeding this machine? Right? Ask yourself, am I feeding this machine? Have I allowed these thoughts to start to distort my identity? Have I allowed these thoughts to become my mental program? Have I been feeding this beast that I'm called to actually slay? And if you start raising your hand and you start seeing for what it is, that is the first step in being able to dismantle, overcome the spirit of rejection and start to lead from a completely different place, which is going to radically transform your life, your relationships, and just the way you show up. So you guys, I hope that today was helpful for you. Make sure you tune in to part 2 next week when we're going to talk about, so what do we do with the spirit of rejection? How do we slay the giant? Make sure you guys tune in next week. Until next time, here's to loving fiercely, leading courageously. We'll talk to you in the next episode.